What is going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and we are here after the holidays. They're over now, later, and we are live today because I want to talk about the dark moon. A lot of people, well, when they look at astrology, sometimes they always miss this part. It's not talked about as much, especially in more typical astrology. And the dark moon phase, or what we call is also the balsamic moon phase, is very important because it's when the moon is at its most waning point, its lowest energy. And especially with the Mercury retrograde right now, especially just with Mars and Pisces on the South Node, we're going to talk about on how this next couple days before this new moon. Now, you're hearing a lot of stuff right now I've been seeing all over the place about the new moon on Facebook, or, you know, I'm part of the new Facebook Mention app, and it's for people who have verified accounts. And so it's interesting. I typed in astrology in there, and I'm able to see everybody and what they talk about in astrology now over the whole entire internet. And what's so interesting is all I see are people talking about the new moon and the traditional new moon stuff. And you know, that's really great. I love new moon talks. I always do new moon ceremonies, and we talk about the new moon here. And I do horoscopes on my app and so forth. But the dark moon is a very, very weird thing that happens in astrology. A lot of people need to be cautious of how it can affect their world, especially the decisions they make during this phase, which is happening for the next 2.5 days until the new moon. I will be doing a new moon ceremony and new moon report, which will happen for the 29th. I'll probably put it out, you know, the night of the 28th into the 29th. I usually am on the day. I usually don't put out stuff early unless you watch the uncut on the app. But let's talk about this dark moon phase. The other thing I want to tell everybody is on this live show, we are going to be doing a question answering aspect, which will come at the end of the show as we're going to talk about this new moon. So I'm live right now here in the Leo King Studios, where we are here to take your questions. So I'm here. Yo. Hope everybody had a nice holiday, but I want to get to everybody and answer questions and so forth. Even Maya Fisher just said, I was hoping you'd show up today. You know, I mean, it's like one, you know, dark moon phases are kind of where things just feel dead and deflated. And this one feels more dead and deflated than ever. Coming after the holiday, you know, you could feel like, you know, my grandma always says, there's always, last night she said, there's always this feeling of kind of like a lull after the holidays because you build it all up and then it drops down. Well, the same thing has happened in the astrology. And I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about how it really is just a lower energy right now in the astrology. But at the same token, there's this kind of high energy in other spaces. So I really want to cover that. And of course, you know how I roll. I want to look at the astrology and kind of show you it and how it's affecting us. And of course, we had a technical difficulty with our screen here, but I'm fixing it right now. You know, what's interesting is one thing also as well is iPhones and Apples and iPads, you know, these lightning cables, they work great for the first month, 2 months, and then 3 months come down the road, and it's like you twiddle it in the wrong direction, and the whole entire thing falls apart. It's always so funny. But I was able to get us back up live. So I want to show you guys here in the chart describing the dark moon a little bit. So let's see. Here was the chart of right now as we're talking. And so here it is, December 26th, about 5:07 p.m. It's actually a little bit past that now. But what's interesting about this is here's the moon coming towards Saturn. And the reason why that we call it a dark moon phase is whenever the moon is within 30 degrees of the sun. So that means it's going to come towards its last 30 degree. Now, when you look at how 360 degrees works, you know, this is literally the last little piece of pie before the moon becomes new. And so the fact that in between this dark moon, so if we actually go back again, and if we actually take a look here, I'm wondering if this thing has a zoom feature on it. That would be really cool. Let's see. Does it have a zoom feature? No, of course not. But if you see this, look at the sun to the moon. What's in between that? Saturn. And so this dark moon phase is going to pass Saturn in a dark moon phase, which Saturn always rules depression. It rules slow energy. Well, remember, we're already in the sun in Capricorn, which is a slow roll. But what's interesting about this is even though things are moving forward, because there's a lot of planets direct, and after this week, the planet Uranus is going to come direct as well, which means moving forward, there will only be Mercury retrograde. That will be the only planet not moving forward. And then that ends on January 8th, and there's this moment here where all the planets will be direct. And that means moving forward. So things are moving forward in our life, but it kind of sucks because it's not moving at hyper speed, which sometimes more direct energies will happen. But you're going to have to kind of use your own intuition and your own spiritual energy to see things are moving, and they're actually moving quite fast. It just might not feel like the edge of a cliff, or it might not feel like you're on the roller coaster of going downhill really fast. And the reason why is, look at the sun for this week. And I mean, I'm going to talk about this in my own cup, but you know, the sun's at 5 degrees today of Capricorn, and look at where Mars is. It's at 5 degrees of Pisces. So there's this nice sextile that's happening, right? And so things are moving. Planets are all moving forward, except for Uranus and Mercury, which are both connected in a way. And with Uranus coming direct, and then Mercury getting ready to come direct in the next, week and a half or so, things are really moving in life. But there's still this weird kind of internal, I don't want to call it depression. I just want to call it tanked out, overcooked is the best way I could describe it. Because whenever you have Mars on top of the South Node, it kind of feels deflated. It feels like you've lost your masculine drive or your mojo. It's already in the sign of Pisces, which is more of kind of softer energy, weaker energy. Mars is kind of weak in Pisces. And so it feels just, like you've been working and there hasn't been a break, and you just need a nap. You just need some time to regather. But yet at the same time, you're like, fuck, I want to keep going forward. There's all these great things in front of me to move forward towards. There's these big opportunities in my life, and I want to seize them. And I want to make sure that I take, aspect to them. And I want to still move my life in big ways. But this is where you play life smarter and not harder. So I think that this is where you can still make big strides, but maybe if you take too big of a stride right now, it's not the best, because whenever you have dark moons, this is where people try to make major decisions that might be too much, especially in the sign of Sagittarius. What is Sagittarius? Over boisterous, over exciting, over optimistic. And especially with Saturn there in the middle of this is going to hit tomorrow. Remember, there's a bunch of planets at 20 degrees. Look at this. We got Jupiter at 20. We got Saturn at 20. We got Chiron at 20. We got Uranus at 20. I mean, that's a lot of 20. And then the moon's going to be there. That'll be 5 energies at 20. And I mean, we got Venus at 22. It's already hit there, though. But so the fact that the moon's going to hit all these planets tomorrow as the moon is at the dark phase, Tuesday is not really going to be, the greatest day as far as, I would say making a major decision in your life that you might be overly optimistic. You also got to realize that, this is a time that the new moon's getting ready to come up. Mars is about to head into Neptune, which means that don't go into things full blast, because you might not know what's on the other side. So I'm using this as kind of a sense of caution to people that, like, it's time to move forward, but really slow and not at full throttle right now. And especially on a new moon or dark moon phase like this, and this is all getting ready with a Mercury retrograde, this is just not the time to this is time to kind of stay the course in what you've been staying, opposed to trying a new course per se. Everything that you built up to that full moon that was in Gemini, which was on December 13th, everything that was going in that direction there, you stick on. Don't try and, maybe make little minor altercations to those paths, but this is not a time to make a giant new leap into a whole different direction, I would say. Until you have everything kind of figured out. There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot still that just hasn't been seen yet. And a dark moon in Sagittarius is saying, maybe there's more to research here. Maybe there's more to review right now in your life. And so this is a time to take the time to do that. And unfortunately, we're just not built in a society that's used to that. I think a lot of people have been wondering why they've been feeling a little bit low over the last or through this holiday. It was not like a peak high. It's like people are changing. I mean, this is the Pluto now at the other end of Capricorn. It's at the 15 to 16 degree mark, and we're moving into a whole new world. I had said in my Portland talk, you can watch it on my YouTube channel, that the next 8 years is going to be traditions changing. Knitting will die, I said. Things like, old things just are losing their touch, and we're moving into a whole new world, and the feeling of tradition is shifting a lot. And I think this Christmas was like, it's just like, wow, life's changed. I'm going to give you my own personal feelings here. I'm not afraid to do that. I'll take a sip of Sprite for this one. Most people drink a little bit of alcohol with it before they say this, but I'll go ahead and I'll say it. Holidays were great. My fiance and I are happy. Life's great. It was great to be with family and all that fun stuff. But there's just something about the holiday spirit that I just don't feel. And I know a lot of it has to do with the astrology and Saturn and Sagittarius and, just the way that the planets are lined up. But I think there's another part of it where it's just like when you look around and you walk into Target or Walmart or any of these places like a week before, and you just see all the shelves littered, and you just see people just like in the parking lots losing their energy. And, it feels like it's lost this energy that used to be there, And for me, I've always said this. Now, I've got Jupiter in Capricorn, so I'm much more of a, I find my greatness in my work. Like, I don't like vacations aren't what I'm excited about. Like, I'm not always like, oh, yeah, I'm going on vacation. Most people are like, yeah, I cannot wait to go on a plane and go to Hawaii and go take the time off and go to Aspen. And my friends are going to all these places. I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's nice. I'm Jupiter Capricorn, man, 5 degrees. Today, the sun's on my Jupiter. So you guys are getting a Jupiter energy from me. And a Jupiter Capricorn. And the reason why Jupiter is at fall at Capricorn is because the only thing that it finds amazing is work. The only thing it finds amazing is accomplishment. And there's a part of me that I hate the holidays because like the whole universe shuts down. Like, it's like businesses, except businesses that are dealt for holidays, shut down. It's like nobody's talking about projects. Creative energy just shuts off. Like, it really bugs me, to be honest. And I enjoy the holiday. I enjoy the whole meaning of it and the compassion. I did a holiday talk just the other day, but it's like there's this part of me that just deep inside, I just can never wait to get to the new year. I'm much more of a New Year's guy. Like, woohoo, let's go. Let's get into the new year. Let's get back on track. Like, I work full time running my own business. So there's a part of me that enjoys life and business running. Like, I just like when all the wheels are turning in the universe. I just really hate the still moments of pausing and vacation and, sitting on the couch for too long. Like, I feel like I'm like wasting my life away. Now, it's just a personal thing. And I think that there's a little bit of that energy that could be going around just for the fact because you're in Capricorn, Saturn's trailing behind in Sagittarius, and Mars is ahead in Pisces. There's this feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got these big things I want to do. And I feel like the fantasy and the vision, I got to go for it now. But part of that is you having to kind of be realistic right now and being like, this is a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, and be like, well, there's steps to get there. And sometimes it's time. What does Mercury rule, especially in Capricorn, is the hand on the watch, the seconds and the hands, and how life just takes time. And it takes time to get to places that we want to go. And it's interesting to see with all the planets full bore, the universe is making us into things right now that are much more solid and slower growth. It's like building diamonds, and they just aren't built in a day. It's building mountains. It reminds me of the Temperance card in tarot, which is an interesting card to me, because the Temperance card has always been about kind of taking things slow and making sure that life is on that more slow path. And I'm going to show that card because I think that this kind of goes with what is happening energetically currently with this dark moon. Because it's a very interesting card to me. Here, let's take a look at it. The Temperance card is an angel that is pouring water back into you could look at it as it's pouring back and forth. But what's interesting about this card is the mountains in the background and the way that the river flows. And I've always looked at this card as like divine timing, and that, mountains and water and streams and flowers and life just isn't built in a minute. I mean, if you believe in the Bible, it was built in 7 days. Or if you were built, if you're a scientist, you would say that it's taken billions of years. But there's this aspect where it's like, this shit just doesn't happen in a day. Like, it just doesn't happen in a minute. And there's a part of this card where it's like the angels know what's best for us, and we know that we're building something great and beautiful and angelic. And it just is like, take your time through it. And it's okay if you feel like it's just been so much and you want to get so much done right now. This is a dark moon in Sag. A lot of it is like kind of reviewing and seeing, well, what are the big visions, and is this vision right? Maybe you need to course correct a little bit, and maybe this is not saying, that you should take that big of a course change. Maybe there's adjustments that need to be made, and when the time comes to make that bigger course change, you do. Just because this is just a time where things are a little bit funky dunky, and there's especially before a new moon and Uranus coming direct within the hour. If you actually look, and I think it's really interesting about what's about to happen in the astrology, because if we just take a look at this here, here's the new moon that's going to happen. I ran this chart for when Uranus comes direct after the full moon. Or new moon. But, here's the new moon, and, it's going to happen at about 8 degrees of Capricorn. I think it's exactly 800. It's kind of interesting. But right when the moon comes off and we come new, Uranus comes direct, and it's going to be opposing Jupiter. And this is extreme stuff that's going to come our way. And I can't wait to do the report on this new moon for you guys, because this is really going to be the signal of a lot of things moving forward with the careful energy of, look at this, Mars and Neptune, which will be conjuncting. So there's going to be a lot that's starting to build up after December 29th, and then especially after January 8th when Mercury comes direct. That'll be when from December 29th to January 8th, you'll see a lot of things moving forward, but last minute things still got to be kind of wrapped up, maybe frustrating too at the same token. But after January 8th, we're going to have a very rare moment where all the planets are direct, and it's like, take it, folks. And this is the preparing energy, but I think not trying to build whole new ships to take whole new journeys right now, I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's the right move. I don't think this new year trying to, there was a part of me, I was like, I'm going to just go move to a whole new place and then move to do this. And I was like thinking, I'm like, wow, the way that this is all so much, I was like, this might be too much. Like, the energy isn't going to be there very easily to support fast and rapid change like it was earlier. It was doing that earlier. But for this next month here, it's much slower, it's much more chilled out, and it's much more slower. You got to remember Saturn is in Sagittarius. It's ruling a mutable sign. And now Mars, which rules action and identity and strength and moving forward in life, is in a mutable sign. You also got Jupiter opposing Uranus. I mean, this is like a huge moment in life where everything is saying don't blow it up way too big. You might not be able to handle all the pieces at the same time. You might break things up too much and not be able to put it all back together. So I wanted to bring this message to people on my Facebook Live to kind of help people understand what's the energy going and why this energy has kind of been feeling a little bit frustrating, I think, or just even like tiresome or burnt out, is because if you look at the energy prior to this, I mean, we were on high in November, and then we were on, mutable energy is real, and we're in cardinal Earth. It's like move forward slow. With Mars and Pisces, slower. Don't be deceiving yourself. You can make your dreams come true in ways that are more realistic than losing yourself in just a fantasy or something you see on the internet or something that, you could lose yourself into a whole like world you're going to create so fast. And it's like, whoa. Stew on that shit for a while. You know what I mean? Stew on that. So I promised that we would get to questions. And that's what I want to do. So give me a second. I'm going to take us to break. We'll be back in 1 minute to answer your questions. Thanks for watching.
The Leo King app is the world's first and leading video and notification astrology horoscope app for iPhone, Android, and computer. Get daily spiritual videos and addictingly accurate notifications alongside weekly sun sign horoscopes, tarot videos, and exciting new age entertainment videos by celebrity astrologer and TV personality David Palmer, the Leo King. Join today. You have nothing to lose with a 7-day free trial and wake up to astrology like you've never seen before.
Wake up to astrology like you've never seen before. Welcome back, everybody. It is David Palmer, the Leo King. We're here live at Leo King Studios. We're talking about the dark moon. We're talking about just how the energy is just kind of low, and even though there's a high moment, like I said, and people are kind of feeling like they need to make huge moves in their life right now, that I'm putting caution to it to make sure they kind of stay more on a course. And make minor adjustments and still can make the big moves they want, but maybe it's just not as grand or as big as they think they should. It could be, you got to like know that there are limits to things at some points in life, not all the time. I'm a big believer in limitless potential of the universe, but there's also moments where your Lamborghini will burn out. There are moments where you will spin out if you push too much gas on the snow. There are moments in life where you can over push it. And I think that we are at a moment in life where we can do that, and people are going to try and make way too big of moves, way too quick over this next couple weeks, and to be careful of making too big of a move, especially right now, and to be more cautious about it and to take a little bit more precaution to those things. Still move into great new spaces, but and you'll have to rewatch this reading. I think it will help people understand a lot better in the long run. So I'm here in the chat room, and I'm here to answer some people's questions about how people are feeling. Now, I put a couple things about answering questions to people. Number one, I don't answer sun sign questions. So if you're like, I'm a Libra and he's a Gemini and I want to know why we're not working or why we're doing great or blah, blah, blah. Two, I'm not going to answer just an individual sun sign. So I'm a Leo and da-da-da-da. Three, I'm not going to answer about a planet. I've got Mercury retrograde and Virgo square Saturn. What does this mean? Da-da-da-da. I am looking for questions to answer that are for all the people to understand at the same time, that are about the collective, what we're all feeling, and maybe just general astrology questions in general, but specific ones to your own chart, to your own thing, are meant for an individual reading with me or another astrologer out there. All right. So we're going back to see here. And you know what? We can have some fun here with the questions so people can see them by pulling up. I think we can pull this up here. Yeah, so let's try this. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I got it to work. Okay, so when is a good time to move forward? I think that the best thing to say is we are moving forward. Lots of things are moving forward in life right now, Muffin, but the thing about it is this is a time to move cautiously, build a plan, and don't go too big. You know, going too big right now might be too much with Jupiter opposed Uranus and with a dark moon right now, and it's hitting Saturn and Mars coming to Neptune this week and all. I mean, we're going to talk about it all in the port, but, you know, it's like move, just don't over push this. People are going to spin out of control, and I would caution it too much. What is your overall take on 2017? I will be doing that report at the end of this week and putting that up on Facebook and YouTube, of course, and I will do it for free. Every year I do that report for free. So that'll be coming out. And I'm also doing the Astrology Hub New Year's 2017 with like 13 other astrologers. That's coming up on the 13th and so forth. Let's see what else. So this isn't a question, but this is what somebody just said. I'm not feeling too much frustration lately, just very free. It's not normal, but it's wonderful. And I think that feeling is a good way to describe while you've got this moment where things are moving correctly, why create frustration? That's another way to look at this. The ship's moving great. Everything's going in the right direction. Why is there the need to feel like you've got to then change that up again when, you know, this is a moment where we could really take the direction we're in right now and go towards it and keep going in that direction? Unless it is just dramatically negative in your life, then you want to take a course that's in a positive direction. But, you know, it's almost like if you've been waiting for things to build up for so long and you haven't been paying attention, this is where Mars, Neptune, South Node, and Chiron will fuck you up, especially as February 26th comes and we're going to have the solar eclipse in Pisces with Mars and Aries and all this stuff, conjunct Uranus. I mean, it's going to be gnarly. I think that people are going to have to realize, like, you know, if you're waiting for just like these things that you know aren't the best for you, those things will blow up and change as we come into the year more after, you know, Mars comes into Aries and we get ready for the eclipse season, which will be in February. That's when I think things will really be much more like go, intense, bam. I think until then, though, to take much more steady energy. Somebody asked if it was a good time for dental treatment. I would say wait until after this retrograde. Mercury retrograde in a Saturn rule sign, which rules teeth, definitely would not be the best time to do it until at least after the retrograde. It would be best for you to wait till Mercury got out of shadow period, which that'll be when Mercury hits 15 degrees, which I haven't actually done the exact math. I think that's going to be probably mathematically, if I was to do it in my head, it would probably be near the end of January. So I'd wait till then. But if you got to do things, I always recommend do them, but just beware. Like I got a tooth operation done in a Mercury retrograde and the temporary crown broke. And then I was like at CVS buying glue and trying to re-glue it, and then it was still falling off. It was horrible. It was, and the tooth underneath was hurting. Oh, I don't even want to think about that, you know? So, Here's a personal question from Chris. What do you think astrologically made you want to get married? So for me in my chart, I have a lot of interesting things for marriage in my chart going on. Number one, a lot of my progressions have finally shifted to a much more positive position. They were in a very hard position for the last couple of years. So I'm kind of in a new positive light in my life. Two, just individually. So I always look at myself individually. Two, I had some really great aspects on my Venus this year. I had the new moon that was in Leo on August 2nd of 2016, conjuncted by Venus, which is 11 Leo. Saturn trined my Venus this year during that whole entire year. Two, I have my solar arc Saturn starting to trine my Venus. Three, the lunar eclipse that was on the end of August, that was in Leo. So it would have been like August 19th, somewhere in there, August 18th, that one, where it was at 25, 26 degrees. I'm a Leo rising, 26 degrees. That lunar eclipse hit that. At that whole August was all about relationships and love. And that's when I met in person my fiance. Then on top of all that, I finished Chiron in my 7th house. So that left my 7th house. And that was really nice. 2 or 6, I don't even know where I'm at. You know, it's there was a huge Sagittarius energy that came through this last month, and this is where Saturn is. I'm a double Leo. This is the house of love. The sun conjuncted Saturn with Jupiter sextiling it. It was just beautiful. And then the full moon happened with all the Uranus energy, and it just was it was a moment. And I plan everything astrologically. I've planned the Leo King astrologically. The Leo King's birthday is June 19th, 2013 at 10 a.m. Irvine, California. Go look that chart up. Or actually, I'll show you guys that chart before we go. It'll be kind of fun. But it just overall, everything just made sense, and it was right, and it feels right in my chart, especially Saturn's finishing my 4th house natally, which is my home and my family, and I really want to build a foundation in my life because it opposes my 10th house where a lot of my planets are, my moon, my north node, my Chiron. So there's this part of me that is feeling like in order to reach the success I want in my life, you know, not having a nice foundation, not having a home, not having a kind of a family unit around, like, is not going to make me as successful because I don't have the support in my life that I need. So I think that was another huge part in my own spiritual awareness of this transit and this time in my life. So I hope that helps. I think those were a lot of things that helped the whole situation out. Overall, you know, it was kind of interesting. It was a interesting year to say the least. It was I mean, I saw in my astrology that there was going to be that lunar eclipse hitting my descendant. I saw the new moon hitting my Venus. I saw the solar arc transits hitting my Venus. I also have solar arc Neptune oppose my sun. And that is a very big transit of losing your ego. And it's been interesting. Most people think I have like the hugest ego. My ego is like taking the biggest fall over the last year with solar arc Neptune opposing my sun in Aquarius now. So my Neptune and solar arc hit Aquarius this year, which is the sign of relationships for Leos. My solar arc moon has now come into Cancer today. It actually came into Cancer today. For the first time in 30 years, my solar arc moon has switched signs. So that's more home-based, spiritual, and so forth. I'm just having so many major transits happening. I'm going through major shift points. So kind of interesting. So we got many questions here. One question was, so did you check her chart before you told her? Of course I checked her chart. Yeah, 100%. Somebody asked, why does the shadow feel worse than the actual retrograde period? The shadow period is very interesting because it's almost like there's a pregame and a postgame. So the pregame show is always like before, like good example is the election, right? They had CNN, Fox News, everybody were given like who they thought was gonna happen, right? That's the pregame of the election. So that's kind of the shadow period when Mercury enters it. It's like what you think's gonna happen, but you really don't know. Then the election happens. Mercury goes retrograde, and it's like, holy shit, and you see the results and all that. Then what happens is Mercury can come direct, and it's like the post game. Post game can be very high, it could be very low. It could be very like, we're excited about these results. And the other side is like, oh, I was thinking it was going to be so different, and here it is. And then finally when Mercury catches back up to where it was, it like moves on everything and it clears energy. Remember, retrogrades are clearing. They literally are rubbing points in the sky. If you were to look up and watch on how the planets are, they kind of rub out like erasers, or they make marks like a Sharpie, like as if you were to draw a picture and make the line fatter. So depending on where it is in your chart, where and what sign it's in and how it affects you is going to be much more intense. So, you know, the shadow periods are always those really interesting moments because the pre and post game of the show. And what they do is they kind of fuck with your head as far as like how you really see things, and you realize things, and what are you going to do now? What are you going to say about it? How are you going to perceive your life now too at the same token? So it's kind of an interesting parallel. So we're going back to questions here. We got a lot of questions. Somebody says, but why do I feel so calm with all these storms happening around me? Feels like everyone is losing their effing minds. You know, this is this thing about Mars in Pisces. There's a very calming effect, like where you just like, you put down your swords, you surrender. And then there's another psychotic event of Mars in Pisces where people literally, like I was driving today from the airport, had to drop my fiance off because she's going back to Canada for a week. And it was interesting because it was like, oh my gosh, this dude was in a brand new BMW and he was literally going in and out of the 6 lanes at 100, maybe 110, because it's really light traffic out and around LA today because people are on the holiday or whatever. And this guy's like about to kill people, right? Going, meh, 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 like about to kill people. I'm like, oh, Mars and Pisces, South Node, Neptune. And then there's people like me who I was like, I'm just going to chill out and go in the slow lane and bump some tunes and chill, you know, like, well, I mean, where I don't have anywhere else I have to go. I'm going to do this live show to the office. I'm like, and whenever I come on, I come on. That's the thing. People are, you know, there's two sides of everything, especially Pisces is the most dualistic sign in the zodiac. It literally rules duality. Reality and not reality, spirituality and, you know, I would call it like non-spirituality, psychotic or not psychotic. You know, it literally rules these things. So I hope that helps you in understanding maybe why you might feel that, you know. Somebody asked what my viewpoint on interceptions is. If you don't know what an interception is it's where, you know, houses might not touch a sign. So the way that the chart works, I always feel like the signs that are in the intercept that are not touched by houses are signs that the soul has difficulty with this life and dealing with. And those are the signs that you'll notice if they work on the most in every situation, in every house, in every aspect, in every planetary position. If they add those qualities of those signs to the issue, they'll be fixed. You'll always notice intercept people have difficulties with these areas and those planet or those signs. This is a very good question. Laura asks, when will this civil war energy end? It's just getting started, and unfortunately, I mean, I would wish I'm a real astrologer. Neptune and Pisces was the Civil War, and it happened at the end of Neptune and Pisces, and it was a long buildup, 12-year buildup, 13, 14-year buildup. When Neptune came in 1848 and left in 64, 65, you know, there was this major event that happened called the Civil War, and it was a buildup for a long time. 9, 10, 11 degrees was when Uncle Tom's Cabin, the book came out by that freed black slave and describing his energy about what he thought about slavery. And it really kind of opened the door for people to start talking about it. This was also the period in which the Republican Party was getting ready to be started. And the Democrats were, you know, harboring slavery and wanting to keep slavery and not wanting to let it down. And there was this battle between, it's pretty intense. I would watch the movie Hillary's America if you want to get more into the history of a quick documentary about slavery and the party systems that were battling during that time. And the Civil War was really created within the House of Representatives. There was an actual assassination of somebody talking. I forgot which congressman. There was an assassination in the Capitol building, literally of a congressman who was promoting freedom from slavery. And they literally tried to kill people. So like Neptune and Pisces does this weird separation thing. And the way that Neptune learns and the way that Pisces learns is by literally seeing the other side completely. So we need to see one whole side of one energy and we need to see one whole side of another to get a full conscious view. And it's a very wide perspective. Remember, Neptune and Jupiter rule Pisces, so it's a Jupiterian thing. And Jupiter wants to see it in the most vivid color, wild, a little bit psychotic energy. And that energy is going to be around for a while. It even makes you feel a little psychotic and like the universe is so weird and you're a little off anyway. So that energy is going to be around for a while, Laura. Personally, I believe as an astrologer, I don't think it's just going away in a couple weeks or a month or 2 months. I think we're going to see this for a while. This is going to be a little bit of a trend happening. Somebody had said the Democrats were today's Republicans. The Whigs were today's Republicans. Well, the Whigs were the Republicans. The Democrats have always been the Democrats. Democrats really didn't switch their policy on slavery and civil rights issues until the 60s. That's when they changed. All the way up until the 50s. And so it was JFK was the first Democrat pretty much that literally kind of shifted the party to caring about blacks especially and other minorities, but it was mainly blacks. That was the first minority that was brought up. And Democrats didn't you go look it up. Go look at how many senators and congressmen that were Democrats up until the 60s voted for civil rights issues in the negative, and you will be flipped out. You will trip out when you see that actual thing. But I don't want to get into politics really. Somebody said a while, a couple years or a couple decades. I would say, astrology is a very intense science. I'm doing this on the fly and doing the math in my head. Neptune is going to be here until the beginnings of the 2020s. Pluto's going to still be in Capricorn until 2024. I would say that the next 8 years are going to be intense. I would say that 2020 through 2023 will be massively intense. I think after the big conjunctions of all the planets in Capricorn and then in Aquarius with Jupiter, Saturn in Aquarius, that will be a major time, 2020 through 2023, because the energy that will be coming off of that'll be Uranus and Taurus as well, being, it was going to be a wild time. And, it was interesting in World War II, right before, America really had entered, Uranus was in Taurus, and that was the beginning of the building of ships and tanks and massive amounts of energy. And it's interesting, Donald Trump talks about wanting to rebuild the military and rebuild all this stuff. And Uranus and Taurus is a great example of building radical, intense amounts of things. I'm not just talking about him, but I also think, there's a bigger energy to, holy cow, there's so much that's going to be built over the next 8 years once Uranus enters Taurus in 2018. One of my old bros, Michael Oates, says, "What up?" So he said, "Big up." I said, "What up, Oates? How you doing, dog?" We were on volleyball together back in the day. Marlena says David needs to have a podcast, historical events in astrology. Well, I'm going to be moving my my YouTube channel is going to be moving more towards doing stuff like that, and doing signs. I'm like so sick of like reading. Like here, I'll give you guys a really good example. Okay, like I'm going to plug my phone in, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, trust this computer. Okay. Oh, come on. Like, I'm sick of looking at all these other astrology people doing this. Like, it's like, continue. All right. There's so much astrology stuff out there from people, and I'm like, why aren't I doing this? But it's like kind of cheesy. It's like these astrology people are like giving out like candy to get people to click on their stuff. Oh, come on. It was just about to work. Apple stuff sometimes. Oh, I got it to work. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys this. Ready? So this is what's cool. So there's this new app and it's called Facebook Mentions. Okay. So this is for people who have verified accounts. So my Leo King account like page just got verified, and then the one you're watching right now is a verified account, so I have access to this. But when I go to the news feed on this thing, does it let me go sideways? No. So anyways, I can go to what's trending or what I'm following. So I typed in what I'm following is you could do something on the search, or wait, hold on, where is this? Following mentions. Oh yeah, so I added topics, astrology at the top, right? So I added astrology. So mentions, all mentions of astrology are here. So have you guys been seeing this? Okay, it's like 20 minutes ago, this girl shared this uplifting. For all your Capricorn friends, is this in you? This thing has 12.1 million likes, right? Look at this. Everything that's anybody that talks about it, it's all astrological true. Whoever this Amon Ra Kemetic is, right? And then that, I'll like that and say, oh, it is true, right? It is true. All right. See, and then it will put my thing there. So, but I'm able to see now what everybody in all of Facebook is doing with astrology. But there's all these like candy things out there. Like the Virgin is known for the zodiac. Virgos are drawn to this. And it's like, man, why don't I do this just in a more real way? But it's like, oh, and there's Rick Levine. I support Rick Levine and his astrology. It's like, but this is what's littering people now on Facebook. Or this guy, what is your zodiac sign? This guy's not even an astrologer. He's a magician. And what he does is he just finds an algorithm to figure out your sign for anybody. And so these little things get swirled around. It's all just mindless, basic astrology, which, you know, all astrology is good. But this person's a little bit deeper. Lisa Paran, the stars are restless, so take care. Jupiter and Libra is in opposition to Uranus and Aries. That's a real big deal. So I think that it's good that there's people out there doing it, and then it takes it to her website. So I'm able to see. I'll like that. I think that's pretty cool. This girl goes, my boyfriend knows how much I love astrology. Always have. Can't wait to dive deep into this. Readings coming soon, family. So she wants to do readings. Good for that lady. So I'll give her a like. So anyway, a lot of the content that I want to do is taking that whole aspect of astrology, but like, we need to be talking about some much deeper stuff. Like, sure, okay, I'll do the Capricorn thing. I'll do the Aquarius thing. I'll do the Leo thing. I'll do the whatever Aries thing. I'll do Pisces thing. I'll do that fun stuff. I actually already have all that stuff on MP3 recorded. I should probably just put it on YouTube and put a little video up towards it. But, you know, it's like there's this thing about the astrology. It's just so kindergarten. you know? And I think people want deeper and more knowledge, and they want to see more, and they want to be more visually. That's why I do this show. So that 2017, that's what I'm going to be doing more of. So it is what it is, you know? So we're going to go back to a couple questions, and then I am going to go home and take a break from astrology, believe it or not, because I could use a little bit of a break. I've been kind of crazy lately in my life. And how long I've been on? 51 minutes. Wow. That's a personal question. Trying to find a question. Have you ever been wrong about predicting big turbulent times? Whew, that's a very good question. Have I ever been wrong about predicting a big turbulent time? I don't know. I guess we'll have to ask the audience. You know, I would say that the biggest thing that I predicted turbulent-wise was Trump's win for presidency. A lot of people didn't like me. A lot of people unfollowed me. A lot of people didn't believe me. A lot of people thought I was crazy. And I got that one right. And then on my Portland show, I told people that there'd be some weird things about trying to sway people to actually think that maybe Trump won't win. And that's recorded and you can hear it, and they're going to try and do that. And I knew that was all bullshit. And people thought that the Electoral College would swing another way. I knew whenever with Uranus, if you can actually think it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. So the fact that people think with Uranus transits, like, oh, this will happen, you don't know what will happen. It'll be something way from left field that you never figured out. I don't know. You know, I do daily astrology every day, videos on my app. And so I've gotten really good at seeing when it is a good time to do something in life, when it is not. I've also been very good at predicting things every day to the hour, to the minute, if it's there. You know, people respond to me on the app if they like it or not. I've got over 4,000 videos, so I don't know. I don't know if I've ever predicted an event wrong. I usually don't put out a prediction unless I know 100% for sure it's going to be correct. That's just not me. I used to toy around with my buddies at my old house like 5 years ago with football games and basketball games. I would do tarot, and I would look at the astrology of the leaders of either the coach, or I would do the astrology of like the best player, and I would like fool around, and I won like 2 weeks in a row. And I was like, but that's just dark, because then my buddy wanted to gamble with it. And I was like, no, I won't do that. I won't use the astrology to gamble with. But I was able to predict like 2 weeks of every game he asked me, the winner, every single one, based off astrology and tarot. It was crazy. So, you know, I think that if you're a good astrologer out there, there is no not predicting, because the astrology is going to tell you it. It's just whether or not you have the balls to say it. It's not whether or not you're a bad predictor. It's just most people are afraid to say the truth. Most people were afraid to say, like for the example of Trump, right? It was like most people are afraid to say that he would win based off the astrology. And the astrology community was scared. And I think the astrology community needs more voices that aren't scared. I think the astrology community needs more voices that are going to be more powerful and speaking up and speaking the truth and giving it some credibility. This is actually bridged to a very good subject that I want to end with here, is that the spiritual community in general has to be very cautious leaving the next 8 years. Because if you follow the trail of the last time Neptune was in Pisces, which was in 1848 through 1864, you see that spirituality had come very big, not only in God and in Christ, but in churches and stuff, but also just spirituality in general. But what happened was from after that, during that Civil War and after, it was like, it came out with like the whole crystal ball, and it became like, the only way that you could get a job as a psychic was at a circus. So it became a circus event. It became like, ooh, get your fortune told. And that's when the whole fortune teller kind of came out, was after the whole Neptune and Piscean energy. So there's this thing where it's like, I think spiritual people out there need to kind of have a little bit more balls, and not be afraid to really step into power, and be careful about becoming a circus freak. Like, because that's what happens after the transit that comes up over the next years. Like, if you're spiritual, like, represent yourself also in a way that is authentic to yourself. But that's the main thing, authentic to yourself. I see more people wearing yoga pants or dressing a certain way to look spiritual than be spiritual. It's like, what in the fuck is going on with that shit? Like, why don't you actually just be yourself? Like, that's what God wants us to be anyways. It's the teachings of Jesus. That's the teachings of a lot of other religions, is be yourself. Like, being spiritual doesn't mean that you have to look a certain way. Being in a community, especially like the Burning Man community or other communities, are great, but there's this whole feeling like if you go, you have to dress a certain way. You got to look a certain way. Or, even in the rave scene, when I was a raver, it was like, oh man, if I don't wear Jinkos and I don't wear, like a old, like, poker visor, or it's like there's these like common, like, fitting in energies that I see more people do, or even with astrology or in general, and how they present their astrology. It's like, do I gotta say, a certain thing? Like, do I need to say namaste, or do I need to say, I love you, or do I need to say these like things, or do I need to say it? It's like, you got to find your own way of doing it, and you got to step into your own power. And the only way spirituality, especially that is not common from the typical Christ aligned church of contemporary Christian churches, that's the only spirituality there is, and that's the only God. Like, it's God, and God is in everything. And there's so much more than just the church and how the church does God. But if people want that to change in the world and people to accept God in a much broader sense, you can't be looking like a freaking retard trying to look away, then be away. And I think that it takes very powerful people that have courage, that have knowledge, and that are willing to dedicate their life 100% to a path and how that looks, and live in authenticity. And it's not easy. That's the hardest thing to do. That's the hardest thing to do, is be living in God's authentic light 24/7. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy to show up every day and do God's job or work for God. Like, working for God is not an easy job, but working for God is the best thing. It gives you everything in the end of the day. A lot of people want to work for God one day a week, show up to church, and that's it, and kind of do a couple prayers here. But working for God is much deeper than that. It's embodying and actually being a representative of God, being a spokesman of God, being every part of it, making your job God, making every aspect of it, spending, your 6 o'clock at night live on Facebook, talking about it the day after Christmas. Like, it's much more. So the spiritual community, and even the Christian community, I think, especially with the holy war that looks like it's coming up, with the weird things going on in Tehran, with Iran and Russia, that are mixed with the whole thing happening in Israel right now, and then the Syrian thing, and then the way that we've got, it's going to be really crazy here with ISIS and all that stuff. It's like living in an authentic spiritual place, being a badass with it, but at the same time not pushing it on people, not judging on people for who they are. Like, Like, I'm not going to judge people for how they still dress if they want to dress that way. But is that their authentic self is just the question. But that doesn't mean that they're no more great or less of people. They're still great, beautiful people. But I think to make an impact, so it's not a judgment. It's more of a question of whether or not how much of an impact are you making. And I guess that would be a judgment call. Is like, what is the impact on this spiritual world? What is the impact on other people? And I think that's a deeper thing to look at than, the look of it. The look of it, it's one thing to go to a beautiful church and have the great service and the beautiful music and the singing and everybody kind of putting on their, I got to do this and I feel special for this 2-hour segment, and then I go back and I'm going to yell at my wife, or I'm going to not live in my authenticity. I'm going to go hit my bong again and I'm forgiven by God, or I'm going to go, do whatever I can to just not live in my authentic self or my authentic self that's connected with God. I think that's a dangerous game that a lot of people play. And I think that's something that we see a lot of right now. And I think that it could play on the negative side for the spiritual community when you get a lot of people preaching spirituality and trying to become it, just like I showed you guys in this, now that I have this new Facebook mention app, it's like everybody's talking about astrology, but how authentic are these people? Do they live it every day? Do they really preach it every day? Are they dedicated to it every day? I mean, the people who are making these little videos and stuff to get the candy out there, the effortlessly attractive squad, Leo, Capricorn, Scorpio, Virgo, Cancer, Libra. It's like they left out Aquarius. I've been extremely attracted to Aquarius. They left out a bunch of people. Aries, I've thought some of the Aries women are the most beautiful women in the world. Tauruses, I think Tauruses, all the signs are beautiful. It's like, where is this going with astrology? This is not a good place for it to go. It's like, I don't think it's a good place to go. Or like, let's see this. Your horoscope is here. We'll see whowhatwhere.com. Your 2017 horoscope. Cancer. This year will focus on life goals and taking care of the deeper parts of yourself. Well, duh, Jupiter's in your 4th house, okay? And then 6th house was with Saturn, so you're finishing up your health and stuff. So it's like basic shit. It's basic shit, And I think that they're trying to make it look trendy and cool and apply to people. And I think that the real... Or then there's people out there saying, all the planets will not affect your life in any way. It's not that the planets are affecting your life. It's that we live in a reality and the planets prove that is preordained. It's predestined. Like, we know exactly what time today, if we look at weather. So here we go. Here's the weather, right? We knew today exactly at 4:50 p.m. the sunset would happen. And today the sun started getting brighter after Christmas. So yesterday the sun set at 4:47, and then the day before that I think it set at 4:45. That was the lowest it set. Now the sun is setting at 4. It's at 4. Where was it? 4:50. And watch the sun starting to set longer and longer. So I think it's important to make note of that reality is preset. And whether you want to say that even maybe the weather is preset, but it's like there's so much out there of these people pushing a lot of this stuff, which isn't bad, but it will be taken as kooky if people don't start to put it in a much better light. So thanks for joining me for today's live Facebook. Lost my voice. Thanks for being in the room with me and hanging out. for the last hour. And we'll see what happens, you know. I'll put out my 2017 report at the end of this week. There's going to be a lot this week. The uncut, my new moon spiritual dance music, my new moon horoscope, and then, of course, all the sun sign horoscopes are on the app right now, all of the daily videos, all the daily notifications, if you didn't know. So I want to show people how the app works, right? So on the way that the Leo King app works, if you've never been on it before, you know, you watch your horoscope every day. So here's today's horoscope. Here's the intuitive report and all the sun sign reports. Hold on one second. I want to fix this Wi-Fi because I'm live on the internet right now. Oh, I don't think I can connect to the internet while I have it plugged in. That's kind of weird. Oh no, there it is. So anyway, every day, the weekly intuitive, the weekly tarot, and then your Aries and so forth, Cancer, all the way down every week. And then, of course, all of your notifications at 5 p.m. reacting to things that come up from nowhere should be cautioned right now. Acting on impulses can come from a place you don't have complete control of. Little things like this come every day. And if you were to do this, this goes all the way back. I could go back for a long time, for over a month. So anyway, that's how the Leo King app works if you've never been on it before. Thanks so much for all your support. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for being part of the Leo King app. I'll see you guys later this week with everything. And take care. Bye.
The Leo King app is the world's first and leading video and notification astrology horoscope app for iPhone, Android, and computer. Get daily spiritual videos and addictingly accurate notifications alongside weekly sun sign horoscopes, tarot videos, and exciting new age entertainment videos by celebrity astrologer and TV personality David Palmer, the Leo King. Join today. You have nothing to lose with a 7-day free trial and wake up to astrology like you've never seen before.
Wake up to astrology like you've never seen before.